If you love St. Patrick's Day as much as I do, you're looking forward to connecting with the Emerald Isle this day with some Irish whiskey. But are you just drinking it, missing out on all the flavors? Or are you tasting all that's going on inside that glass? I'm gonna show you the 5 most important things to taste in Irish whiskey and how to do it to make this year your best St. Patrick's Day yet. Now, pot still whiskey is the most Irish of all the types of Irish whiskey. So let's start there. To get familiar with this, go ahead and compare a sip of Redbreast 12. This is a traditional Irish pot still whiskey, and it's one of my favorite brands, against Green Bottle Jameson. Now, Green Bottle Jameson, you'll have figured out, isn't a pot still whiskey, which will also make you ask, so is Jameson not the most Irish whiskey in the world? Jameson's not even an Irish guy. He was from Scotland. So, pot still whiskey, how's it's made? What's its history? Don't care. This is all about what you taste and what you're gonna enjoy. So we're gonna really focus on that. The special thing about pot still whiskey is it's so simple that every time we compare something, there's only really gonna be one thing different. So it'll stand out a lot stronger than if you had like 7 or 20 different things that you can be comparing in other whiskeys. When you try these two side by side, think to yourself, what do you notice that tastes different and feels different? The strongest thing that I notice is that the Irish pot still recipe, it leaves an extra oil from the barleys, and that kind of was a byproduct of avoiding British taxes, but it coats your mouth a little bit and it makes it so that the alcohol burn doesn't hit you as much. That can let you feel the flavors in it a little bit more, so even at the same alcohol level, a lot of people think that it's smoother and it has like more of that rich whiskey flavor to it. Try a sip of each and see what you prefer. Your tastes aren't gonna be like mine or anyone else's. The whole point of this is to figure out exactly what your preferences are. Pot still whiskey is also pretty easy to find these days. It's really nice that it's gotten widespread. Redbreast is pretty good to find, but if you can't find this, there's a couple alternatives you can get out there. There's a whole lot of options, but some of the biggest ones are the spot line. They have green spot, yellow spot, and red spot. Those are all pretty good. There's also a Jameson pot still that they've made, so you can still get something pretty decent out of Jameson if you go for that bottle. And there's Writer's Tears. It's not my favorite pot still whiskey, but just the name alone. I have bought this for so many people just because like they were working on a project that they were either writing or crying, and it was just perfect. So, you know, if you see that one, let me know what you think of that one too. Number 2 is the age of the whiskey. When we celebrate big things, we usually go out and we get the oldest wine or the oldest whiskey we can find to celebrate. But that's not always the best. Let's talk about age a little bit. If you want to do comparison, I take my favorite Redbreast 12 and I can compare that against an older one of the exact same line, Redbreast 21. This is a little bit like harder to find and expensive. So another way you can do is you could get Powers 3 Swallows. Now it's a different line, so there'll be some small extra changes in it other than just the age, but it'll be pretty similar. And this guy is also getting pretty widespread in America, so you should be able to find this, and it's pretty solid. This was my favorite for a very long time. Pick 2 and take a sip of one after the other and think to yourself, like, what are you tasting? Which do you like more? The older it gets, you're gonna get more of the wood flavor from the barrel. And that's kind of the big exciting part of whiskey. It's where most of the flavor comes from. But it's not a guarantee that more is gonna be better. It's not just this magical thing. It's like putting salt on your steak or hot sauce in your burrito. If you just rip the top off the salt shaker and pour that on your steak, that's not gonna be a better steak than the one that had the exact right amount that you like. So this will be the kind of fun part. Take your time, find exactly what zone you're into. If you like one or the other, try to imagine like where in the middle do you actually prefer? Or do you actually wish it was younger or even older one of those? If you get like a good idea, you can have a better choice when you pick your whiskey, not wasting money getting something that's really expensive that you actually like less than something that would have been younger. And this can be really cool when you talk to your friends and get a sense of what their favorite age is. One, like it'll help when you're buying like a present for Christmas or their birthday or something. You can get them something that's gonna like a lot instead of get something that's gonna cost you more that they actually like less. And it's also a hell of a lot more personal. You're not just buying a random thing for a status symbol. It's like, hey, like you're my friend Bob. I know you. You like this, and I picked it out for you. So a few alternatives you can do. There's Power's 3 Swallows. Red Spot, it's a 15-year-old whiskey, so you could slot that in for one of the older ones. Redbreast has a couple more ages, 15, 21, some higher in other ones. And Healing has a couple older and younger ones too, so whichever ones you find, you can use those for doing your little comparison. Next, let's find out what strength of whiskey you prefer. To do this, I go ahead and I use my favorite baseline, Redbreast 12, and compare that against Redbreast cask strength. So the difference is, cask strength is what comes out of the barrel. And most whiskeys and other alcohols, they're gonna add some water to it before they put it in the bottle and you take it home. It's gonna have the same effect on the taste as if you poured water into your milkshake. Why would you even do that? Fire. You're sailing across the ocean in a ship made out of wood and flammable tar. And that thing we saw with the whole Bacardi 151 happens. Your journey suddenly is a lot shorter and much less pleasant. The difference in the taste you'll notice is, since it's a higher alcohol content, it'll have more burn. But the pot still oils, that'll reduce a lot of that burn, so it kind of feels pretty decent for a lot of people. It can be a cheap way to get the taste of a heavily aged, expensive bottle without having to have such a high price. Also gets you drunk faster. Personally, cask strength pot still is my favorite. I love this stuff. Some other alternatives you can look for in your area. There's Power's John Lang cask strength. There's also Blue Spot. That's the cask strength from the Spot line. And Writer's Tears, our good old buddy there, they also have a cask strength. Look for one of those. Number 4, Cask Finishes. Another big flavor difference that's pretty noticeable is Cask Finishes. It's like adding a cherry on top of your ice cream. So for this, I recommend you compare Redbreast 12 or another pot still whiskey you like, and compare that against Jameson's Stout Edition. What they do is, when the whiskey is done aging, they'll pour it into another barrel that used to hold something interesting, like wine or beer, or even Tabasco at one place, and age it for a little bit there to get extra kick in it. Now Redbreast, my good old favorite, it's finished in sherry casks. That gives us a little bit more of a sweet, sugary wine flavor to it. Jameson Stout Edition, this is finished in stout barrels, which we all expect means Guinness. So it's like double Irish. If you see this on St. Patrick's Day, give it a try. You know, that's a perfect match. Not bad for a Scottish guy. There's a whole lot of cask finishes that you could try out. So if you go to the store, there's also a Jameson IPA edition. If you're into IPAs, give that a try. And Green Spot, they're just famous for doing all kinds of interesting stuff with them. The number 5 is Peat. You're going to know whether you prefer peated whiskey or not peated whiskey. For this, let's do a comparison of Connemara, this is a peated whiskey, versus Jameson. So Connemara is not a pot still whiskey, so comparing against something that's also not a pot still whiskey will probably get a better comparison. But if you compare it against Redbreast, I guarantee you're still gonna notice the difference. Peated whiskey, it's like barbecuing your booze. It gives it that smoky flavor to it. So what is peat? You don't wanna know. Scotch is famous for being peaty, but I personally don't really like it. It's just too much. But you know, the difference between medicine and poison is the dose. Irish peated whiskeys are a lot lightly peated, so for some people like me, I started trying these and I actually kind of liked it. And it was a point where I could see what Scotch was getting at, it was just too much for me. For a lot of people, if you enjoy this for a little while, it can be the gateway that opens the door to Scotch after you've kind of warmed up to this stuff for a little while. So give that a try and see what you think. Other options you have for peated Irish whiskeys are Teeling Black Pits and West Cork. You're all set now. Those 5 features will make Irish whiskey come alive for you, and it'll give you a great foundation for tasting more of all other whiskeys in the future. It's definitely gonna significantly increase how much you enjoy Irish whiskeys this St. Patrick's Day. Let me know in the comments what you tasted and what your preferences were on these. And have a great St. Patrick's Day. Sláinte.